Hi, YouTube. I hope you're doing well. Excuse me. Just a minute. I just brushed my teeth. I have like a after effect. Anyway, so yeah, last night I had watched Gnostic Informant. I'm kind of new to his channel. I at first didn't really understand what a lot of people out there were doing until I saw that he was interested in getting down to the bottom of base languages for like text and scriptures and our understanding of it. That he was more interested in the truth than anything else. But I ran across this older video that he had Dr. Hillman on there and Dr. Kip Davis and Derek from Myth Vision. So, and I had heard about this video before, but I didn't see it. And I mean, um, eventually Dr. Ullman got um, PO'd because this other scholar of Hebrew that doesn't know Latin or Greek. I mean, he says he's read Greek. Well, so have I. When I was a kid, I had the English translation there, but now it's a little different. I'm actually learning the language. And I'm starting to understand that my dyslexia, it's probably a benefit. The way I see words, maybe my spirit and my soul was like more Greek when you know, um, anyway. So every time Dr. Hillman tried to bring the language back to the base language of the ancient Greek and show how the Hebrew came out of it and what the actual meaning of that word was, because we all know Hebrew was a made-up language, like 1,000 years after Greek, because Greek was thousands of years older than that, and the migration out of that, and how it even migrated into Latin, and these things that a real biblical scholar will know. You know, this, oh, I can't stand this guy, Kip Davis. I don't think he'll ever watch me, but if you ever watch me, dude, you're an embarrassment sitting there drinking your whiskey or whatever it was and cutting off a man who will dig into the text. He goes, admittedly, I'm a lazy scholar. Well, duh, we can tell, dude. So when an expert is speaking, maybe you should sit back and learn something instead of flapping your gums, you know? That's what I was thinking. But every time Amin tried to prove, and he'd get down and he wanted to show him the words, and he'd start talking. Everybody else had a chance to talk, but this thing would not let him show the proof. He'd go, this is where the word came from, and he'd, let me show you this. And every time he got to this point, this person would interrupt him. It was starting to really piss me off. So eventually Amin goes, told him he was full of shit, that he was lying, and left it there. I mean, they were trying to talk over each other, and finally Amin's like, you're just full of shit. And then he was the bad guy, because this bastard of Hebrew was able to speak his mind. He's probably contributed to that channel. Although Gnostic Informant is now learning Greek and knows the lies that have been perpetuated. So, but at that time, say I think it's like about a year ago or more now, um, this bastard was allowed to override the intellect of a true scholar with the truth, and not just sticking in the Hebrew with where the deception lies. And that's like, if you followed my channel, you know how the Masons have that coded all in different languages. I told you, you have to have a knowledge of how, like, if you take a 1921 Webster dictionary and compare it to the codes in the King James, I have a actual, um, I have a video telling you how you can use their Masonic Blue Book with the King James New Testament and decode what the truth is and what they're doing to human beings. It's all in their playbook. So, and I was taught that by Jesuits. My adopted dad was a 3 times over Grand Master Mason Jesuit with Shriner's rights. Yeah, he's a wizard. He is a priest. Not priests think they are wizards. They think they're pretty fancy, and these sorcerers out there with their techniques. I mean, they're never going to be confronted by the truth. They don't even let a person talk. You can't. They won't debate. They're this bastard got off that live stream, and I can say anything on my channel. I wouldn't go on somebody else's channel and be calling a doctor a bastard, but this is my channel. And even when I was working with doctors in my career as a medical professional, I always thought of most doctors as bastards anyway, just because they are, most of them. So I have something in common with Professor Hillman, my hatred for these people that don't dive deep and will not debate about it. They're not even open to it. You know, you can put facts and proof. Truth means nothing to these people. So, anyway. And on excuse me, on Professor Hillman's presentations, a lot of times he's talking about how some of the women in ancient times were like archers and warriors and murderers. And just from my own experience, and I was trained in many types of combat, but my martial arts is really my judo, among my other arts, um really served me best in combat. But it's not because and I took ballet and all kinds of dance too, so it isn't that I learn how to incapacitate somebody because I wanted to. It was out of necessity. And I'm pretty sure the women in ancient times, I mean, um, if you become an archer, it's either to feed yourself or to protect yourself. I didn't walk around beating up people. I took self-defense, you know. So I'm pretty sure that these women in antiquity were put in that position of having to protect themselves. And why wouldn't you? Well, of course, I know a lot of women that will just sit there and cry if they're getting beat on. And I've been in that position, and it's not a very cool one to be in. Eventually, I had to strike back, especially protecting my children. So yeah, yeah. People, you don't really change. It doesn't change who you are inside or anything like that. It's not something I like to do. Well, I don't know. I kind of take that back. Yeah, I developed a liking for seeing somebody that had hurt other people so terribly actually be hurt. So yeah, yeah, I enjoyed it. The little bit of it that I engaged in. unless it was mutual sparring. A lot of that turned into where it was sparring, it was supposed to be for fun, and then people get out of control. Then things get serious, when they're trying to kill you. So yeah. But anyway, what a disgrace that these other people with doctrines wouldn't even let the man talk. And then when he finally did tell him that he was full of shit, he was the one that ended up looking, and this fucker baited him right into it. And I'm just sitting there thinking, well, that's okay, because we're going to prove this stuff through the language. I'm studying ancient Greek. A lot of other people are too, and Alman reads it fluently. He speaks Greek and Latin and English and Hebrew. And this fucker's like, well, Alman said I lived in uh Israel for a year and lived in like a nunnery or something, and this bastard, I'll just call him the bastard. So bastard, and I am a bastard, so don't take any offense. So this bastard um said, so would it be fair to say that your Hebrew isn't as good as your Greek? Because this bastard's Greek was horrible, and he wouldn't even be able to read it, let alone speak it. And I know Alman can speak Hebrew, not just read it out of a book, because he lived there. And he said, well, yeah, but he's fluent in these languages, you know? And and so this bastard took that statement and ran with it. So it's fair to say that his Hebrew isn't as good as his Greek. Well, that's wonderful. I speak English and Spanish too. Does that mean and a couple other languages, and even made my own language? Does that mean that because I'm not as fluent in Spanish that I can't speak or understand it or communicate? No, but it also means that this person was not willing to dive into the Greek and let Dr. Ullman prove his point, so the twists in the scriptures could be shown to everybody, and this bastard would not let him do that. As a scholar, that's disgraceful. So, anyway, and I'm the kind of person, I'd be saying this to his face, and I know he'd want to beat me up. I can just tell he's a man that would strike a woman. He's that type of creature. Oh, I can tell. There's no doubt, no doubt. If you can't defend the truth and let other people speak their mind, he didn't even let Dr. Allman give his presentation. He was ejaculating all over that whole show. And the two hosts of the show went and talked. Derek and Neil were talking on the phone privately on how they were going to calm these gentlemen down so they could proceed with the show. The thing is, that bastard injected that dark spirit on the whole scene, and Alman was blamed for it. That really pisses me off. I wouldn't mind sparring with that fat ass bastard just for that. So I got Alman's back big time, forever. He's telling the truth to people, and I'm going to defend it. So I told you, if you're new here, just real quick, when the Masons couldn't kill me, and they tried, and it's not a joke, then they started teaching me, because I was learning on my own. I got busted decoding shit. I was watching how my dad did it in his den. I'd sit there and talk to him, and then I got caught doing the same thing he was doing with his books, because I was into books. That's really about, I had sort of a secluded life in a lot of ways. I mean, I was out in the public eye a lot. I did some modeling. I did a lot of things, playing in orchestras, and I mean, big venues where I was kind of forced into being around people. but I wasn't really comfortable, and I never really had any close friends because most of them were quite a bit simple-minded in comparison, so it's hard to really connect with people that don't have a drive to them, so it was, yeah, lonely, but yeah, I'm a lot less lonely listening to people that are speaking for other people. So if you run across these Hebrew scholars that refuse, they can say they know Greek, but they do not know ancient Greek. It is not the same. It's just like modern English or modern Hebrew. They are not the same languages that were spoken in the past. It's important for us to see how languages, even English, comes out of the ancient Greek. We're going to prove this stuff, people. We really are. And the importance of it is your welfare. The medical knowledge and the connection with our bodies and our spirits to the true spirit of God, that we're going to prove what's up with that, and it has nothing to do with anything dark or nefarious or anything. We're going to show you who's dark and nefarious. That would be the people that will not debate because they're chosen. You're not chosen. Even in their own scriptures, it says they turned away from God, and He's been calling them back, and they're still not doing. Their temples were destroyed twice because they didn't do what they were told, and it's going to be destroyed a third time because they're stupid like that. It's true. It's in their own books. I guess they should have covered that part up too, right? No, because they're trying to use it as everybody's Israel, and that they're speaking to you, and that's who you are, and that you're like a prodigal son, and we're the ones that were the sinners and whatnot. That is not what it is. None of that. There was no woman or man that did anything bad to human beings. Like I've told people before, you honestly think that Eve, the mother of creation, would ever do anything to, I mean, some moms in this world now do a lot of stupid things because they've been poisoned to death and led the wrong way for generations. It's just in them. There's hardly much they can do to help themselves. But me as a mother, I am telling you, I would never do anything to harm my children or my husband. And I'm estranged. Gave my estranged husband a letter of divorcement that he can take because he's a narcissist. He's truly satanic, devilish. Um, because I've been watched all my life, but that's another story. But so I'll get back to my point. The thing is, it's just all to do about honesty. It really in integrity and what the truth is for people. And the first mother on this planet would never do anything to hurt her children and her husband. That's not the way things are. When you have somebody that you're connected to, there was an interference. It was rape. She was 12 years old, and you are going to find that out. That's the truth of the whole thing. I've been saying it over and over and over. So that the lowest personification of God. And it took me a long time. I could barely even wrap my head around all this when I would say that I lost my religion. Now, here's another thing on top of that. I did become a licensed ordained minister. I had it all inside of me to minister people and counsel them anyway outside of the church, because my stepdaughter couldn't get married in the church because her prospective husband at the time, had been married before, so they didn't want to marry Christine and Eric in a church. But finally, when they found out I was going to do it for them and I went and got my license, then all of a sudden, this another bastard of the church, the bastardized church, um, agreed to perform the ceremony for them. So, yeah. But that's why I got it legalized. And then I thought if I run across people, a couple that really want to unite in the eyes of God as one, as man and wife, that I would perform that ceremony for them, because even Doug and I had a hard time finding somebody that would do that within their church because we weren't members of it. And I thought, oh, so people have to go outside of the church if they believe in a creator and go into a courthouse and have a ceremony performed by a judge to make it legal in this world, and they can't have the luxury of a loving God overseeing their ceremony. I thought this just isn't right. There's something really truly nasty about the whole thing. So that's why I did that. So anyway, but I am one that helped get all this information out to people because of my training and what I've done all my life. So this is this is where we're at today. I'm not stopping. Now there's a lot of other people that will not stop proving the truth, and we're going deep. We're going in the language and we're going to prove it. These bastards may not debate us, but that's okay, because the people are eventually going to say, what is this all about? How could there be two different stories, one produced in Greece hundreds of years before the Hebrews picked it up and changed it into something else? How and why did that happen? And then people, once you learn the language, you can decide for yourself what's true or false, what rings true in your heart. Do you really think that the first parents on this planet did something nefarious against each other or their children? No, that's not what happened. Not at all. I'm going to prove that. And yeah, I have something to do with it. And I don't appreciate these low life liars that won't speak the truth. I've been on their butts for years. Like, for instance, Israel News Live, that lie that used to be a CIA agent and loves to tell us that, oh, I just talked to my CIA buddies and this is what's going on in the world. What a puppet shill fucking monster. Just all for greed and money. That's all these people are about. So I know I call a lot of names, okay? So I just do. If I get to that point, if I'm angry with you, that angry, you're probably going to hear some foul language come out of my mouth. Like I said yesterday, I don't have to jump through hoops. I'm not out here trying to make money off of anybody. I always have my needs met because that's how I roll. I know I'll be okay. Like I said, if I had to go scrub toilets or whatever it took to feed my children, that's exactly what I would do. Or I did drywall. I had a drywall company. It hurt. Yes, it hurt bad. But it's all I could do at the time to become a licensed contractor and get subcontract jobs so I could feed my sons and teach them that trade so they'd have something to fall back on. So, cheers, everybody. Appreciate you being here. But the disgrace that a doctor would go through studying for 10 years, um, uh, what was it? He doesn't just have his PhD in Greek, he's got it in Latin too. Plus, he knows Hebrew and English and probably Spanish because Latin isn't far off of that. I can read German. I can speak a lot of German too, but I have a really difficulty, even though I have some French blood in me, I have a real difficult time with the French language. I can memorize things, but I don't know why, and I've always wanted to learn it because when I went up to like Montreal and Thunder Bay, and I love it up there. It's just connected to Minnesota, real close to me here. I've always wanted to speak it so I could communicate with the people, but and I know a little bit of native language too, but I mean, yeah. And the wild thing is like the bloodlines of, and they've been lying to everybody about who's who in this zoo, and that's a whole nother topic, like with the Vril Society, how they bred their dark skin lighter with the blue eyes. They cherish that, carry it through the mother, and push that off into all areas of the world to keep their darkness hid. Not only dark skin, but dark within themselves. And that's who these people are. They're the Khazarian Jews. They're the dark cabal. They're the Slavics that went Indian. Even came out of China over to Norway. You would think, wow, there's actually descendants from Chinese in Norway. Oh yeah, you better believe they are. They have a lot of the hidden knowledge up in that area too. It's a natural, like in Hungary or Czechoslovakia, which is Slovakia now. Um, Romania carry a lot of that craft with just within their own bloodline. But I studied how these people would change their names and their banners and their crests and the colors on their crests and the different things, which I was going to look up. That reminds me, one of these days coming up, I'm going to go into the meanings of the colors and different things, not like you hear these Fruit Loops doing with their astrology that's half baked, because they only know what they've been taught by their teachers, and if they're not taught by the right people, they're just not gonna, or if they don't have a real deep concept of what's going on, um it could be very misleading to people. So yeah, I'm gonna go into that because that's what I was taught, to recognize these people and for who they are, or aren't. So yeah, it was pretty upsetting. If I had been on that panel, I would have been like, why don't you just let them finish? But they were kind of catering to the bastard. I don't, like I say, he's probably contributed to that channel. So the Neil's like, that's my boy, and okay, boy was the good word that you used in that. That was the right terminology. Should have let the man speak. I would have been there. I would have been, let this man talk. I want to hear what he's got to say. Let's get down to the base language and see how Hebrew came out of that. Why did they take one word that meant something and make it into two words that mean something entirely different? And in the Hebrew text, you'll see it'll say, um, it says this right in their own text, and you can look it up too. Look in the Hebrew Holy Bible, and you'll see parts that will say sources not included, or base source not used. Why? Why wasn't it used? Because it was used to deceive and hide the truth. That's why. Because it was the Greek they were borrowing from and leaving it out of the picture so they could take this pseudo language and fool everybody with it. And I've proven that with my own language that I made. I can tell you anything in that language, and you're not going to know what I'm saying. I'll say that in my Gedagi. Yetagu are not a god. Gonna go. Aragin, what a gut, aragai, aragam, saragay, aragin. That's an addition to English stuff. You over just like the Hebrew does. They add and take away vowels. That's just what I did with the English language right there. So you are not going to know what I'm saying. That's what they did. And I made that language when I was 13. I fried the shit out of my English literature teacher. She thought she knew language, but she didn't know that she was trying to school somebody that knew a little more than she did at that time. So by the time I was 12, I was pretty much a monster. And a lot of people hated me, and they still do, you know. So anyway, that's about all that's on my mind today is I'm going to prove this stuff out. If you're along for the ride with this endeavor that everybody's in, it's been a long time for me that I've been doing this. I hope you join in this war in any way possible. You can help to have justice for the people in the world that are under hypnosis with these sorcerers and their language and their bullshit. So I'm not being harsh to you or anything. I don't hurt people, but I might, given if you're not acting like a person. And for them not to stand up and say, let this man speak. You had your they said it one time. They said to that Kip, Neil said, let Almond speak. Um, you had your time, and he'd start talking and the fucker would interrupt him right there, and it's like, oh, it's so putrid. And yeah, it really pisses me off. And that was his head. That son of a biscuit. How disgusting for a scholar to interrupt another one. He got to say, his limited language. He got to speak that and wouldn't let Almond go in depth. So, and it's about time, people. If you see these Hebrew speaking fucking twits, cut them off at the ankles. Shut them down. Make people aware that your ancestors didn't bite no fucking apple to hurt you. These bastards are making shit up against the human population to keep control over you. So, all right, I'm going to leave it there. I think I've expressed all I can do on that subject today for the moment. Probably till I click off here and think of more stuff because that just infuriated me. Of course, I knew it was going on. I've been battling these fuckers out here for a long time, telling them that's not what it means. That isn't it, you know? So, but it still doesn't take God out of my heart or the Christ spirit out of us. We've just got to put it back in its home where it belongs with the mom and dad and the whole, like, energies of the female and the male giving each other ideas without this filthy interference of these dark cabal bastards. So that's where I'm at. And I'm not going to excuse my language no more. I'm going to collect people that have the same language towards injustice. And that's who I'm looking for in my life. And I do love you all. I even love them, but I have a ultimate hatred for their actions. Yeah, do I love the person but hate their deeds? Nah, I kind of hate them too. So anyway, honestly, and they're fucking ugly. It makes them look so ugly. They're just, it's nothing cute about them at all. They're just nasty people. And what they are inside just comes out. It oozes out of them like the black goo. It's like, ugh. Okay, I'm gonna go, people. Thank you for joining me. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace and love from Pine City, Minnesota, USA. Have a good night or day wherever you're at. Love you.